Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast, and welcome to your AEW Dynamite post show. Starting off tonight, man, we got AEW World Champion MJF coming out to the ring. He is greeted by none other than Tony Schiavone. MJF has a microphone, but he quickly tells Schiavone to shut up. MJF then praises himself. He also talks about being world champion, and that he has the grandest belt of them all, if you will, in professional wrestling. MJF then says that nobody is on his level. After this, Brody King comes out to the ring, interrupts MJF. Brody King tells MJF that he wants to hurt him, but he knows if he does, he won't get what he wants, which is an AEW World Championship match. Brody then calls MJF a bitch, and like I mentioned earlier, Brody says he wants an AEW title shot. MJF then tells Brody King no, and that Brody King is all bark and no bite. But he also says that Brody King hasn't done anything to earn an AEW title shot. Couple of things I want to talk about with you guys about this, man. Number one, it's great to see that MJF is AEW World Champion. Hands down. They definitely needed him to be World Champion, in my honest opinion. But what I'm noticing with this situation with MJF is that obviously everybody is coming after MJF, and rightfully so, for the names of Kenny Omega, Brody King, Swerve, Adam Page. All these guys are pretty much going after MJF for the AEW World title. My issue with Brody King, though, is this. Number one, I'm a big fan of Brody King. I think Brody King should have been on, had a singles run by now within the confines of AEW. And I'm not sitting here saying that I hate the fact that he was with, when he was teaming with Aleister Black or Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews with the Hounds of Hell and obviously the House of Black. I thought it was a great stable when it did work in AEW, and I feel as if Tony Khan really dropped the ball with that stable, because that stable was a force to be reckoned with in the confines of AEW. But now, with Buddy Matthews or Buddy Murphy being injured and on the shelf right now, obviously Malachi Black left to go back to WWE, and now he's Aleister Black. So he's no longer with the company anymore. So it kind of leaves Brody King on an island all by himself until he ended up teaming up with Bandito, where eventually Bandito and Brody King became AEW Tag Team Champions. And obviously they are no longer AEW Tag Team Champions. But Bandito just had an AEW World Championship matchup against MJF last week at Maximum Carnage, which honestly I thought was an absolute banger match. I thought both Bandito and MJF did an absolute job. Absolute awesome job in that matchup, in my honest opinion. With that being said, the reason why we're getting this matchup possibly between Brody King and MJF is what happened at Maximum Carnage between MJF and Bandito. And my issue with this is I don't want Brody King just to be fed to MJF and Brody King takes a loss with no story. And honestly, it's a lose-lose situation for Brody if they're just going to feed him to MJF and Brody King's going to take another loss. So what does this do for Brody King? You know what I mean? Brody King is a guy, if they put some story behind this shit with Brody King, it can have a lot more interest and intrigue with the fan base, and more intrigue leading us into a matchup possibly between Brody King and MJF, which might most likely take place at this year's Revolution. So, I don't know, man. To me, it's one of those things where I feel like I know the direction of where they're going here with MJF, and I think it all comes down to Will Ospreay, which we will talk about Will Ospreay and some news that I found out yesterday about Ospreay towards the end of the podcast. But I think a lot of this is pointing towards MJF versus Will Ospreay for the AEW World Championship at this year's All In. Because I think they're going back to Wembley for this year's All In. To me, I think they're just trying to save this AEW title change to Will Ospreay once he is medically cleared. So to me, anybody right now facing MJF, it's going to be a tall tale task, because what is it going to do for them? I mean, if you look at Kenny Omega, which we will talk about Kenny Omega as well, it's one of those things where I feel like AEW is in a flux right now, bro, where they don't really know where they're doing, and they have no idea nor direction of where they want to go right now within AEW. And to me, that was the biggest takeaway from this segment here between MJF and Brody King. But moving on from that, we go into our first official match of Dynamite last night. It is Samoa Joe, former Trios champion, taking on the new one half, or third half, if you will, of the Trios champions for AEW. It is Speedball Mike Bailey and Samoa Joe. I thought it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between Joe and Speedball Mike Bailey, with Bailey keeping the pace of the match. Bailey then goes off to the apron and hits an acai moonsault to the outside, taking out Samoa Joe. But Hook and Shibata are here. The Ops attack Bailey, but Bailey hits a shooting star press on Joe for a near fall. Shibata then hits a suplex on Bailey off the apron that looked absolutely brutal. Joe and Bailey then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Samoa Joe landing devastating kicks on Speedball Mike Bailey. Bailey, though, tries to get some more offense in by hitting a shooting star knee drop on Samoa Joe. Shibata then attacks Speedball Mike Bailey, who was on the top rope. This allowed Joe to capitalize on this distraction from the referee. Joe hits a muscle buster on Speedball Mike Bailey in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Samoa Joe. Hats off to Samoa Joe for getting the win in this matchup. And moving on from that, we got a street fight here. We got the Death Riders, Daniel Garcia, Jon Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta taking on the Don Callis family, which was Hechicero, Rocky Romero, and Lance Archer. The match itself, I thought, was an okay match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between the Death Riders and the Don Callis family, with the Death Riders keeping the pace of the match. Lance Archer then hits a devastating chokeslam on Wheeler Yuta through the Timekeeper's table on the outside. Moxley then follows up by hitting a cutter on Lance Archer. Archer then gets up, sends Moxley through a table that was standing in the corner. Yuta then hits a running knee. Archer then hits a chokeslam on Moxley onto a barbed wire broken glass board. Pac then comes out on crutches, attacks Lance Archer. Claudio was here as well. He attacks Archer as well. Marina Shafir then hits a low blow on Hechicero. Garcia then hits a pile driver on Rocky Romero in the middle of the ring, followed by Garcia applying a Dragon Slayer on Romero. Referee sounds for the bell, and your winners of the match are the Death Riders. After the match, Moxley then goes to the commentary table where Don Callis was doing commentary. He goes up to Don Callis and tells Don, if your boy wants to fight me, he knows where to find me. So I don't know if this is maybe Moxley trying to, attack Andrade. I don't know if this is something between Andrade and Moxley. I don't know if this is something between Fletcher, Takeshita. But I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a matchup with Moxley and Andrade, and hopefully Andrade does somehow make his way back to Dynamite, because seemingly Tony Khan only wants to book Andrade for goddamn Collision, which, again, we will talk about here later in the podcast. Moving on from that, we got a tag team matchup where it is Alec Price and Jordan Oliver making their AEW Dynamite debut against the AEW Tag Team Champions with FTR. The match itself, it was a decent match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with FTR keeping the pace of the match. Alec Price hits a Hurricanrana on Wheeler, but FTR quickly hit a Shatter Machine in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are FTR. Hats off to FTR for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's Kenny Omega taking on Josh Alexander from the Don Callis family. Before the match even gets started, Alexander quickly comes out and attacks Omega. But Omega then hits a moonsault off the barricade on the outside. They both finally make their way into the ring. Referee sounds for the bell, and the match finally gets started. The match itself, though, was a decent match. Back-and-forth matchup between Omega and Alexander, with Omega hitting a Hurricanrana on Josh Alexander. Alexander then drops Omega on the apron. It looked absolutely brutal, and Alexander was trying to keep the pace of the match. Omega then tries to get some offense in by hitting a Snapdragon suplex on Alexander on the exposed concrete floor. Alexander then hits an enziguri on Omega. Omega and Alexander then both exchange in the middle of the ring, with Alexander applying an ankle lock on Omega, but the hold gets quickly broken. Omega then hits a V-trigger on Alexander, followed by his signature one-winged angel on Josh Alexander, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Kenny Omega. After the match, Omega then grabs a microphone and says that he is back to normal and feeling 100%. Omega says that there is nobody in the Don Callis family that can beat him. Well, to be honest with you, that's kind of a bunch of bullshit, because Kyle Fletcher beat the hell out of you, and Andrade also beat the shit out of you, and left you in the middle of the ring in a puddle of your own piss. Which, again, we will get more into this at the end of the podcast, but as you can tell, really wasn't happy with last night's show. Moving on from that, we got a tag team matchup. It is Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne taking on Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm. It was a decent match, back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with Mina and Toni keeping the pace of the match. Megan Bayne hits a fallaway slam in the middle of the ring. Ford and Bayne then hit a Doomsday Device in the middle of the ring, pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Penelope Ford and Megan Bayne. But after the match, though, you can see Marina Shafir attacking Toni Storm. So it looks like Marina has some unfinished business with Toni Storm. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of AEW Dynamite last night. It is Kevin Knight taking on Swerve Strickland. I thought this was actually a great match. Back and forth matchup between Kevin Knight and Swerve, with Kevin Knight keeping the pace of the match. Swerve then hits a rolling flatliner on Knight in the middle of the ring. Knight then gets up, tries to get some offense in by hitting a DDT on Swerve for a near fall. Swerve then hits a Death Valley driver on Kevin Knight off the apron and looked absolutely brutal. Swerve then hits a pile driver on the barricade on Kevin Knight, followed by a 450 splash. Swerve then applies a Dragon Sleeper on Kevin Knight in the middle of the ring, but the hold is broken. Kevin Knight then hits an Avalanche Hurricane Rana, followed by a Coast to Coast on Swerve. Knight then goes to the top rope once again and hits a UFO splash on Swerve for a near fall. Kevin Knight then takes a page out of Swerve Strickland's book by hitting his own house call on Swerve Strickland. Swerve then gets up, hits a house call on Kevin Knight in midair. It looked absolutely brutal. Followed by Swerve ultimately hitting the finish, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Swerve Strickland. Hats off to Swerve Strickland for getting the win in this matchup. A couple of things I want to talk about with you guys, man, when it pertains to AEW Dynamite before I get the hell up out of here, and there's a lot to talk about. I'm going to be honest, man. I have been doing my absolute due diligence and my absolute best not to shit on this show and not to be so goddamn negative when it comes to AEW Dynamite, bro. And I'm going to be honest, man. It is an absolute chore to try to be as nice as I possibly can about this goddamn company. And after what I watched last night, first and foremost, I'm not going to sit here and say that the show was absolute shit. I'm not. I thought the Kevin Knight and Swerve match was actually really good. I wasn't necessarily happy with the outcome. I thought the Samoa Joe and Speedball Mike Bailey match, again, was good, but I'm not okay with the outcome. So I want to start off with Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight, as well as Adam Page, just recently won the Trios titles from Samoa Joe and the Ops. So then we get to Dynamite last night, and both Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey have some decent matches last night on Dynamite against top contenders, former AEW World Champions, with Samoa Joe and Swerve Strickland. I don't understand the concept of AEW when they're not willing to push younger talent and building the future for this company. You had two guys with Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight who are currently your AEW Trios champions with Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. And they have they both had matches last night. Bailey goes up against Samoa Joe, and you have Kevin Knight going up against Swerve. I don't understand how these guys just went from beating Samoa Joe and the Ops for the Trios titles, and then both these individuals had matches on Dynamite last night, and both take a goddamn L. Are you really not preparing yourself for the future of AEW? Or are you not really interested in building stars for this company? You're not. Both Bailey and Kevin Knight came out of those matches looking like two losers. I don't understand the concept of what AEW is trying to do here. I really don't. And I've stated this now for weeks, bro. Months. A year. Two damn years. That AEW needs to build for the future. Honestly. You had both these guys in these matches last night, and both these guys got their ass whipped last night. Now, again, I like the match between Kevin Knight and Swerve more than I did Samoa Joe and Speedball Mike Bailey. But again, you had both these guys losing. So clearly your whole motive right now is that you're not willing to even focus or be fixated a little bit at least on trying to build the future for this company so this company could last another 10, 15 years. Because at the end of the day, you have talent right now like Speedball Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita that can take this company in a new direction for the next 10, 15 years. We're not even focused on that shit. We're not. And that's one of the biggest things that pissed me off last night with Dynamite is that you had these guys win the Trios titles, go on a Dynamite last night, and both these guys got their ass kicked. And not for nothing, both Swerve and Joe could afford to take a loss. It does nothing to Swerve. It does nothing to Samoa Joe. And I know some people are going to say, well, isn't Swerve going after the AEW World title? Yeah, he is. But is it really genuinely going to affect Swerve if he loses to Kevin Knight. Instead, it would have benefited the shit out of Kevin Knight if he would have got the win on Swerve, because then you can believe that, okay, maybe they're looking forward to the future. They're building a future star here with Kevin Knight having a big win over a former AEW World Champion. It makes more of an impact with Kevin Knight beating Swerve than Swerve beating Kevin Knight. Same thing with Speedball Mike Bailey beating Samoa Joe. These guys can afford a loss, bro. And right now, the AEW main event scene is absolutely and abundantly fucking chalked. I'm sorry. I told you guys earlier that I think they're just trying to lengthen this shit with MJF being AEW World Champion until we get to All In, when Will Ospreay is cleared to wrestle, then Ospreay is going to be the guy to dethrone MJF for the AEW World Championship. I think that's the direction that AEW is going once Will Ospreay is medically cleared. So speaking of Will Ospreay, I wanted to talk about this with you guys as well. There was news that broke about Will Ospreay before Dynamite went on the air last night. And that news is this, if you guys don't know by now. Will Ospreay was actually backstage at last night's AEW show when they were live last night in Orlando, Florida. Now, credit, he wasn't on screen. He wasn't shown in a backstage segment or interview. Will Ospreay was in attendance last night in AEW in Orlando because he is going to see their medical team over in AEW to see if he's actually ready to be medically cleared for in-ring return. So it does seem as if the road for return for Ospreay could happen a lot sooner than we thought. A lot sooner. And it looks like the recovery process possibly for Ospreay from his neck surgery is going according to plan, if not better than what he thought it was going to be. So it looks like Ospreay could be back sooner than later in the confines of AEW. So I think, like I said, when it pertains to MJF, I think a lot of signs are showing to me that MJF is going to drop this title to Will Ospreay. Am I against it? Absolutely not. Not taking anything away from MJF. I'm not. But I'm not opposed for Will Ospreay being AEW World Champion. Obviously, once he returns, his music hits, he walks out to the ring in AEW, he's going to get a huge ovation from the crowd because there's a lot of fans that love Will Ospreay. And Ospreay's going to come back as probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, babyface in the company. So I can see how this is slowly starting to play out, that MJF versus Will Ospreay most likely will happen if MJF is able to retain the AEW title leading up to that matchup with Will Ospreay. So there's some good news. The other thing I want to talk about, too, is this Jon Moxley Death Rider shit in the Don Callis family last night. I'm not understanding what the fuck we're doing here with the Death Riders. I really don't. And I made this clear after their last pay-per-view. I made this clear for the past couple weeks. I don't understand the logic of what the Death Riders is now. Their whole mission statement was to shake up AEW and to change the entire landscape of AEW. The hell with AEW. The hell with the talent. We're going to beat the shit out of the talent. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And now you have the leader, seemingly with Jon Moxley, who now pretty much is a babyface. And now you have Marina Shafir, Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, Daniel Garcia, and Wheeler Yuta all being heels, pretty much betrayed behind a babyface. I don't know the direction of where the Death Riders are going. And not for nothing, bro. The Death Rider shit should have came to a goddamn end when Adam Page beat Moxley for the AEW World title. I'm sorry. This whole Death Rider shit has run its fucking course. I'm sorry. It's getting stale. It's beyond stale, bro. The well has definitely run dry at this point, folks. It's done. At this point, you're trying to see if you can get blood from a goddamn stone at this point. There's nothing else left for the Death Riders to do because at this point now, it doesn't even make sense, bro. You had two heel stables in a street fight last night with the Death Riders and Don Callis family. But we all know the Don Callis family are heels, as well as the Death Riders, at least majority of them, except for Jon Moxley. My thing is when Moxley won the Continental Classic tournament and became Continental Classic champion, I told you guys, when all the Death Riders were in the ring and they're all parading around and dancing around and high-fiving and all this shit, and Moxley standing in the middle of the ring, I thought for a quick second that they were going to turn their back on Jon Moxley and leave him in the middle of the ring in a puddle of his own piss. That would have made a hell of a lot more sense than what the fuck we're doing now. I'm sorry, bro. It doesn't make any fucking sense. This is a heel stable. Heel stable. This ain't. You have a heel stable that's being run by a goddamn babyface. It doesn't make sense. You know, and yes, I pitched ideas. And yeah, Karrion Kross would fit perfect into beating the shit out of Jon Moxley, and Kross is the new leader of the Death Riders. Absolutely. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I'd be shocked if it did. But I'm just not understanding this whole logic around the Death Riders anymore, bro. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. And then we have Moxley going up to Don Callis after the match and saying that, hey, if your boy wants to fight me, he knows where I'm at. Who are you talking about? Kyle Fletcher? Kesha? Andrade? Now, again, I'm not against seeing Andrade versus Jon Moxley. I think it'd be an absolute awesome match. But who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? And Moxley, at this point now, you can't go back to being heel, bro, because now you're a babyface. Not right now. Not right now. So like I said, bro, what does it do for the Death Riders? What does it do for the Death Riders? When majority of them are pretty much portrayed as a heel, and your leader is a babyface. What does it do for the Death Riders, honestly? So there's also that logic gap. And then we get to Kenny Omega, which honestly, the whole thing with Omega is honestly starting to piss me off. Number one, the match with him and Alexander was a decent match. I'm not sitting here shitting on the match. My issue with Omega, and I can't 100% put the blame on Omega. Where in the hell is Andrade? That's the shit, again, one of the biggest logic gaps into all this shit. Where in the fuck is Andrade? No, we got Andrade on Collision for some apparent fucking reason, going up against guys that either nobody knows who the fuck they are, who hasn't wrestled in AEW in God knows how long. Andrade's return match back to AEW was a match against Angelico on Collision. When Angelico, from what I understand, has been on Ring of Honor for who knows how long, teaming up with Serpentico, and before that, the last time we've seen Angelico in any kind of role in AEW is when he was teaming up with Jack Evans in the first, year to 2 years of AEW? Get the fuck out of here, man. And then we have another match that was announced last night, that Andrade once again is going to have another match in AEW, but on Collision against Magnus, which I don't know who Magnus is, not for nothing. He's probably a really good wrestler. Why are we not seeing Andrade on AEW Dynamite? Why? Then you have Kenny Omega talking about this bullshit on the fact that there's nobody in the Don Callis family that can beat him. Bro, Kyle Fletcher beat the piss out of you with a Michinoku driver in South Philly at the 2300 Arena. Literally beat the dog shit out of you with hitting a Michinoku driver off the apron and putting your ass through a table. So there's that. And two, Andrade beat the piss out of you when he came back the second time. So again, why are we not running this back with Andrade and Kenny Omega? This whole shit with Omega, I could say this even from before. How come we never got Jack Perry and Omega? When Jack Perry was beating the shit out of Kenny Omega, when Perry was aligning himself up with Matt and Nick Jackson. Okada, when Kenny Omega first came back from diverticulitis. No, we see Kenny Omega greeting Okada and handing him over the title. No rebuttal of what happened before when Okada and Jack Perry were beating the ever-living piss out of Kenny Omega backstage. When he was dealing with his diverticulitis issue, when they ultimately wrote him off the TV to deal with the diverticulitis issue. Logic gaps in this shit is unbelievable, bro. I'm sorry. And honestly, I'm going to tell you guys this, man, and this is just my opinion. For those people, even myself, still having this hope that AEW is going to give us story, bro, I don't think that shit's going to happen. I just don't. I don't think Tony Khan gives a shit, to be honest with you. I genuinely believe what he thinks that he is doing, he honestly thinks it's working. And it's not. It's not. And there's the other thing too, bro. What the fuck happened? Because we had some of the best storylines in all pro wrestling in the first, 3 years of AEW. What happened, bro? Did you become a bitter little man because CM Punk ultimately cost you to be the number one wrestling company in the world after what happened between himself and the Elite? Like, what the fuck happened? Honestly, bro, like, you can't book this shit like it's All Japan Pro Wrestling or WCW 2000. Shit's garbage, man. It is. I'm sorry, bro, and I'm trying to do my absolute best to be positive about this show, but man, it's hard as hell to be positive about this show when at times it absolutely is fucking boring. Honestly, I'm just going to keep it a buck with y'all, bro. This last night's show was fucking boring. It was absolutely boring. Do I think it was better than what TNA did on their debut episode of AMC? Absolutely. But that's not saying a lot. It's really not saying a lot. I think TNA ultimately caused their own bullshit with that, to be honest with you. And that's going to continue. But my God, man, like, what the fuck are we doing here? You had Bayley and Kevin Knight lose. You're not building for the future at all. At all. You have Kenny Omega cutting that promo saying that there's nobody in the Don Callis family that can beat him. Look what happened with him and Kyle Fletcher. Look what happened to him and Andrade. And again, where in the hell is Andrade? Oh, we're going to put him on Collision. Why, bro? Why? Against two people in the past 2 fucking weeks that nobody even either cares or even knows who the hell these people are. Angelico, bro, give me a fucking break. Honestly. He's been over in Ring of Honor teaming with Serpentico. And like I had mentioned earlier, the last time we saw Angelico pretty much do anything on AEW Dynamite is when he was a tag team partner with Jack Evans. In the first year, maybe 2 years max, in AEW's existence. Come on, bro. We're on year 6. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? And then now this week, which I think the show is actually canceled due to inclement weather, Andrade was scheduled to have a match against Magnus. Which I don't know if that was taped last night, going into Saturday. I don't know. Again, with all due respect to Magnus, or whoever the hell he is, I don't know who the hell Magnus is. I don't. But I also don't understand the reason why we can't see Andrade on AEW Dynamite television. Why? Like, what the hell is going on with the fact that we can't see Andrade on Dynamite? Why are we not running back with Andrade and Kenny Omega? Andrade's already made comments when he was over in New Japan that he would like to wrestle MJF for the AEW World title. So why are we not entertaining Andrade, having a couple suitable matches to possibly put him in the AEW title picture? Because the matches with Angelico and Magnus ain't going to cut the mustard, bro, with you trying to be a number 1 contender for the AEW World title, because no one knows who in the hell these people are. Ain't going to cut it. It's the same thing that MJF told Brody King last night. He was basically telling Brody King that he hasn't done shit, and all he's wrestled is jobbers. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? Seriously. What are we doing? Nothing in this company makes sense. And yes, I know about the situation with the Rascals and Trey Miguel. Yeah. And I might put a video out about that. But yeah, I saw the details about that. And if I'm being abundantly honest with y'all, the whole, it came from the higher ups, a lot of it's pointing towards Tony Khan, to be honest with you. I'm sorry. And it's not me having pure Tony Khan hate. No. I think Tony Khan has a lot to do with that. Absolutely. I'm not sitting here saying that what Trey did was right. No. He made comments a while back ago that were wrong. Absolutely wrong. Comments that he made, I believe, 7 years ago. And again, they are still wrong, whether it's 7, 10, 20 years from now. They're still in the wrong. But you didn't even do your due diligence before you signed these guys. You know what I'm saying? You're just signing them to try to get them away from TNA. To be a petty asshole. Like, it's just, do your goddamn homework, bro. And there's a lot of people that, there was news coming out about that Trey Miguel stuff. And the only other thing I'll say about it is that there was a lot of AEW talent that were backstage that were beyond pissed off with the Trey Miguel situation from the Rascals. Who those individuals are, I have no idea. But it did say verbatim that there was a lot of AEW talent that were frustrated with how Trey Miguel's situation was handled. So, you guys can place your own opinion on that as if you want to. But as far as AEW is concerned, bro, I don't know where we're going here, man. I really don't. And that's, if I'm being 100% upfront with y'all and honest, man, it's one of the reasons why when I did my TNA review, and I told you guys, man, I don't know if I'm going to have any interest in covering TNA. AEW played a big factor into that. And the reason why, bro, is that there's a lot of frustration with AEW. And I'm trying to do my absolute best to cover AEW and review it. Because I'm a fan of the talent on the show. I just don't like the way the show's being ran. That's the problem. That's the ultimate issue. There's no storyline. There's no creative. There's no intrigue or interest in the show, bro, to get you excited for week in and week out television, whether it be Dynamite or Collision. What you see is what you get, and that's what you're going to get from AEW. I don't see there being any kind of significant change anytime soon. I just don't. And that's why I didn't want to cover TNA, because when I watched it, I was like, man, this is worse than AEW. And I just can't. I've been down that road, like I told you guys, with NWA and United Wrestling Network Primetime Live, and it was brutal, bro. I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I respect that. I respect the hell out of what Billy Corgan has done with the NWA promotion. That he brought it back to life. He's trying to bring new life into the promotion. Seemingly seems as if there's no real big drama going on behind closed doors in NWA, and the company is going his best way that it can. Kudos to Billy Corgan. You know what I mean? Absolutely. No disrespect towards Billy Corgan. NWA Power is just not my cup of tea, bro. It's just not. And I'm not trying to shit on NWA, because honestly, for what it's worth, if there was no NWA, we wouldn't have pro wrestling. To be honest with you. And that's just me keeping it a buck, bro. I think NWA played a big factor in what we all know and love about professional wrestling. You know what I mean? The National Wrestling Alliance was a big-time deal for wrestling. It really was. And I don't think, obviously, it's not going to be as big as it once was back in the day, but, you know, Billy Corgan's trying to turn chicken shit into chicken salad, and I can't shit on that, bro. He's trying to do whatever he can to make a old promotion once again popular again this time around. So, you know, kudos to him. But I couldn't cover TNA, bro. And AEW, even though at times it is frustrating as all hell, I do like the talent. I think they have an abundance of talent and great talent on that roster. They just don't know how to utilize them, and there's no story and creative. And I told you guys from the jump, bro, when I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. Just like I did when I said that TNA was going to be the number 2 wrestling promotion in the world. Wrong. And I came out to the forefront and apologized to you guys when I said, you know what, I was in the wrong. There ain't no way they're even on the heels of AEW. And I'm a man of my word. But AEW can be successful and be the number 2 wrestling company in the world. That's fine. But how long is it going to last, man? Because people are getting to a point now where they're just getting frustrated with how AEW is being presented to the fans. With no story, no creative, bro. It's just, that's just the way shit has been played out. And I feel like it's lazy. I feel like it's lackadaisical. And I feel like AEW and the powers that be literally just don't give a shit about their product. I feel like Tony Khan literally books this show the day of. He throws ideas on the wall and hopefully one of them sticks. And that's literally how they book this show. And it's horrible, man. It really is. Like I said, I've vented my frustrations with Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. I don't understand why neither one of these individuals could have won their matches last night respectfully. To build for the future. Could you imagine if Kevin Knight had beat Swerve last night? A lot of people would have been excited for Kevin Knight and said, you know what, maybe Tony Khan and AEW are trying to slowly plan for the future. It would have been a huge accomplishment and a big win for the likes of either Speedball Mike Bailey or Kevin Knight. But both these guys took it out last night. And not for nothing, Samoa Joe and Swerve could have afforded to take a loss. It does literally nothing to them at all. Kenny Omega, yeah, it's great to see Kenny Omega back. It's great to see that Kenny Omega wants to go after the AEW World Championship. Where's Andrade? Why are we not running this back with Andrade? It's like Tony Khan, it's like he does something and it's like, you know what, we're going to scrap that, the hell with it, and we're going to move on from it. Bro, no, man. Then why do it in the first place to begin with? Why? Or at least find a goddamn pivot, not just completely scrap the idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? And on top of that, Andrade is signed to AEW. He's now has his match with Angelico he had last week, and now a match with Magnus. Why are we not seeing Andrade on AEW Dynamite for some reason? Seems odd to me, to be honest. Seems very odd. So, again, are we not going to run it back with Omega and Andrade? You know what I'm saying? No, we're giving Andrade these bullshit matches against Angelico and Magnus. Get the fuck out of here, man. Seriously, like, what the fuck are we doing here? That's the matches that you're going to give this guy? Why are we not having matches with him and Kenny Omega or Takeshita or Kyle Fletcher or some shit like that? Well, they're in the Don Callis family. Didn't stop them from doing Okada versus Takeshita. You know what I'm saying? Why the hell not? Why are we not entertaining other matches for Andrade? Why? Kevin Knight versus Andrade. Speedball Mike Bailey versus Andrade. Josh Alexander versus Andrade. Oh, we're in the doghouse. Who gives a shit, man? John Moxley versus Andrade. Something. I mean, what the fuck are we doing here, man? Adam Page versus Andrade. Swerve and Andrade. These are all banger matches that we're not even right now even remotely entertaining the idea for Andrade to have these matches. No, we're taking people from Ring of Honor or people from nobody knows who the hell these people are. And you know what? We're going to have matches with Andrade, which Andrade is most likely going to go over to get these bullshit wins. And then finally say, you know what? I'm going to put myself in the title picture as well. I got some wins under my belt against fucking nobodies. Nobodies. Angelico, bro, are you fucking kidding me? Seriously? Come on, man. Jesus Christ, bro. It's like Andrade versus Marco Stunt. Get the fuck out of here. Seriously. Like, what are we doing here? And not for nothing, as far as Andrade is concerned, when they brought him back for the second time, they should have entertained the idea of trying to put him in LFI. The stable that he's known to been in. Him and Roosh, the Beast Mortos, Dralistico, and hell, if you wanted to add Sammy Guevara, the hell with it. You got 5 people, Andrade, Roosh, Dralistico, Beast Mortos, and Guevara. You could have had LFI versus the goddamn Death Riders. They got John Moxley, Claudio, Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, Pac. Come on, bro. It writes its fucking self. Like, it's not a hard concept to understand. It's not. It's really not. And I feel like Tony Khan at this point, that whole shit with Sports Illustrated and how much shit they were giving AEW, it just seems odd to me, bro. I'm sorry. It just seems like it was a payoff, if I'm being honest. I'm going to keep it a buck. I just feel like there's something with that just doesn't seem right, man. I'm not sitting here saying that Tony Khan has the media in his back pocket. He may or may not. I don't know. I can't say that. But what I will say as a fan, with that whole Sports Illustrated shit, with all the awards going to AEW, I don't know about that shit, bro. I don't know about that. I don't. Number 1 promotion in 2025? I don't know. I don't know. To be honest with you. I don't know. AEW needs help, man. There was even ideas I saw the other day that people were floating around, and honestly, I don't blame these people for talking about it. That AEW needs an on-air GM, and some people are like, well, they don't need to do what Raw and SmackDown's doing. Why not? I'm not sitting here saying that they need to do everything that Raw and SmackDown does, but they got no problem hiring former WWE talent that WWE was disgruntled with and let go. What's the difference, bro? And you know who I would have as an on-air GM? Maybe even a former AEW talent. Maybe a Sting. Hell, maybe even an Adam Cole. Why not? Or maybe somebody from the outside. Maybe Scott D'Amore. Be an on-air GM. And also, if I was AEW, I would hire a fucking writing team to write this fucking show. I don't know who's the writer of this show, bro, but they need to fucking go. They need to go. If you are writing for this show, you're fired. You need to go. Fuck off. Seriously, man. This shit is a fucking joke. Seriously. It's an absolute mess. And honestly, at the end of I hate saying this, but God forbid if AEW somehow went to nothing and they ended up having to close up shop and close doors. Yeah, a lot of fucking blame is going to go towards Tony Khan. Yeah. Yeah. Because this guy is delusional, bro. I'm telling you that right now. And yeah, you got certain content creators out there, and they know who they are, that are kissing Tony Khan's ass. I'm not. They're trying to get in the good graces with Tony Khan, to be at the media scrums and all this bullshit, and the pay-per-view post shows. By all means, go ahead, bro. Go ahead. You'll sit there for hours and maybe not even get your question asked, and you're sitting there until 7 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. And yeah, I do believe that there is certain content creators out there that are out there to kiss the ass of Tony Khan. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And they know who they are. That's not me, bro. I'm not. And I'm sick and tired of people writing this narrative where, oh, we got to be so positive all the time when the shit's bad. No, bro. No. Just like there was comments made by certain TNA wrestlers saying that, podcasters and people shouldn't make comments or critique pro wrestling when you never stepped in the ring. Okay. But I'm going to have a rebuttal with that. So if you go to a restaurant and you get a shitty meal, you can't say the meal was bad? You go watch a movie or buy a movie, you can't say that it was bad when you're spending your hard-ass working money on it? Or how about this, one of TNA's pay-per-views that is absolute dog shit? You're not going to critique that and say, you know what? I think I wasted $40, $50 on that shit. Come on, bro. Come on. Get the fuck... You have critics from everything. Movie critics. Music critics. Get the fuck out of here. And you're going to listen to it because at the end of the day, those fans that are critiquing that shit are the same fans that are making sure that you have a job. The same fans that are keeping that company that you work for afloat. Because if y'all ain't got no fans, you ain't got no show. And without those fans, you ain't going to get that TV deal. Or those pay-per-view buys. So get the fuck out of here. I'm not stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man. It does get to a fucking point where it's just, wow. And like I said, man, I'm trying to do my absolute best not to shit on this show, but the logic gaps in this shit makes it no sense, man. It doesn't make any fucking sense. The whole Kenny Omega Andrade thing, where the fuck is Andrade? Omega putting out that statement about, there's nobody in the Don Callis family that could beat me. Yeah, bullshit. Bullshit. You got two young talents that are now currently a part of the Trios Tag Team Champions, and both those guys took a fucking loss last night. You couldn't even give one of those guys a goddamn win. Nothing. So AEW, at the very moment, at the juncture that we're in right now, give a rat's ass about building for the future of AEW. You know what? Maybe the reason why they're not building for the future is because maybe Tony Khan knows something that we don't know. That AEW is going to be closing up doors here soon. And maybe that's why he's not building for the future, because maybe he already sees the writing on the goddamn wall. That there's going to be no future for this goddamn company. So we're going to worry about the here and now. Maybe. Maybe he's smarter than we think. Maybe he sees the writing on the wall. And that this company's going to close here soon. And that's why he's not building for the future. I don't know. But if he does plan for a future for this company, or sees a future, and you need to start planning for it here soon. Y'all been around the block now for 6 years. 6 years. This ain't day one. This ain't your first goddamn rodeo. 6 goddamn years. Figure it the fuck out, man. It's a little ironic how things with AEW, most specifically, in the first 3 years, everything was red hot, bro. AEW was the best thing going. But then the past couple years, things have progressively gotten worse. Don't you think that's kind of an oxymoron? You think maybe in the first 2 years things will be kind of shaky, kind of murky? No. Complete opposite for AEW. Red hot out the gate and goes to complete dog shit in the past 2.5, 3 years. So again, I had to ask, what the fuck happened? Seriously. Because honestly, if I'm being abundantly honest with y'all, as far as AEW is concerned, I haven't had fun or enjoyed AEW since the Adam Page Swerve shit, the MJF and the person behind the Devil's Mask shit, and Sting's retirement tour. That's the last time that I actually enjoyed some shit with AEW. To be honest. As what I could think of recently. And it's been a while. It's been a minute. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, shit needs to fucking change, man. It needs to change. And I have been saying it now for a while that AEW needs to hit the reset button. Figure it out, bro. Just hit the fucking reset button. Figure it out. You can't even get us to point A to point B without fucking shit up. You'll go from A all the way to goddamn Z with nothing in between of how in the hell we got here. Nothing. How about some logic, bro? How about some storyline? How about some intrigue to this goddamn shit? How about that? Get people excited about wanting to watch your goddamn product on a weekly episodic television purpose, man. Get people invested on wanting to watch Dynamite or goddamn Collision. You know what I mean? I said the same thing about Tony Khan once he bought Ring of Honor, bro. Once he bought Ring of Honor was dead. And it's a goddamn shame. It really is. If you're a person, and I'm not one of them, I'll fully admit, but I have watched Ring of Honor in the past. I have. But I wasn't a day one guy watching Ring of Honor's product. But I've seen highlights and shit like that. But I have watched Ring of Honor's product right before they were done and got bought out by Tony Khan. And I'm going to tell you right now, bro, Ring of Honor was a whole different entity back in the day on what it is now. Completely fucking different. So if you're a Ring of Honor guy or a fan that's been there in Ring of Honor since day one, bro, I'm sorry. That's got to be a swift kick in the ass, man. It's got to be. To see what you had at one time and how great Ring of Honor was and the amount of goddamn talent that's walked through those doors in Ring of Honor. Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame talent. Bryan Danielson, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins. That's just to name a couple people, man. The Bucks, Paige, the Briscoes. Just the talent that's walked through the confines of Ring of Honor, man. To what it is now. It's got to be, as a Ring of Honor Day 1 fan, it's got to be a slap in the goddamn face. Tony Khan doesn't give a rat's ass about Ring of Honor. Now, I will admit that they do have this Global Wars thing going on. Seems cool. They're working with other companies, and most notably Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, the company that's being run by Scott D'Amore. It does seem intriguing. Great. But as far as Ring of Honor as its own private entity, bro, it's a dog shit show, man. It is, bro. I'm sorry. And I feel like if Tony Khan doesn't like you, or there's some kind of issue going on backstage within the confines of AEW, he ain't gonna release you, but he's gonna push you back to. He's gonna put you on Ring of Honor. You go wrestle Ring of Honor for a couple months, 6 to 8 months, maybe a year, and maybe we'll contemplate bringing you back to the big time for Dynamite and Collision. Get the fuck out of here. It's a joke, man. It is an absolute joke. Seriously. Like, I don't understand what happened with AEW, why we can't, as fans, have fun anymore. You know what I mean? Where's the story, bro? Where's the excitement? You see some of these people that wrestle for AEW, bro, and they look absolutely fucking miserable. Even Samoa Joe last night, man, looked like he didn't want to fucking be there or wrestle in that match. Seriously, man. They're there to collect a fucking check and go home, bro. So for people like Powerhouse Hobbs, wanting to entertain to wrestle over in WWE, I don't fucking blame you, buddy. I don't blame you. Get what you want to get out of that shit, and then when you're done, you're done. Oh, he's a traitor. How, bro? He wants to better himself and make some money and go over to another company where he might feel like he might be utilized more? Come on, man. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. And not for nothing, I think Powerhouse Hobbs is going to make a huge impact when he goes over to WWE, whether it be NXT. Some people are talking that he go over to SmackDown. I think SmackDown will be the perfect fit for Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs is going to make an impact. Absolutely. He's going to be a big-time deal for WWE. And rightfully so, bro. The guy's in his 30s. Come on, man. He can wrestle in WWE. Maybe even wrestle at WrestleMania. And his career's done. Why not? Same thing with Jericho. What would be the purpose of Jericho coming back to AEW? For what, bro? For the fans to boo you and say they want you to retire? There's nothing else left for you to do in AEW. Jericho's going to WWE. He's probably going to make his return at the Rumble. And he should. There's nothing left for you to do, bro. AEW is it's a sinking ship, and it's honestly sad, man, because they got the talent. You got some of the best talent in the world, man. You got the likes of Kenny Omega, Okada, and Will Ospreay. And your company is barely getting by, man. Just tell some story, bro. That's all the fans want. And you're like, you know what? I'm not really interested in doing that. Why? Because you're too lazy to do it, bro. You're scaving by. You don't want to put no work or effort and energy into this shit. You're writing the shows the day of, and then this is what you get. It's a joke, man. It's an absolute joke. And you expect us fans to be like, oh, you know what? AEW's, they're back to where they used to be. No, they're not. No, they're not. Because you guys at one time were selling out arenas, and now you guys are barely selling out bingo halls in South Philly. Give me a fucking break, man. Give me a goddamn break. Guys don't give a shit no more. Tony Khan does not give a fuck about AEW. He just doesn't. He don't. And it's sad, man. It really is sad because it's like a slow burn. It really is. It really is. And it's just, as a fan, it's sad to see it, bro. I've seen it before. I've seen it with WCW. They were great. And then we get towards the end of it, and it was just complete chaos. I mean, honestly, some of the weirdest matches of all time. Creative was absolutely dog shit. And it's just, eventually the company got bought out by their competition. And the rest is history. You know what I mean? It could that same fate for WCW could ultimately be the same fate for AEW, man. And it's crazy to think about the fact that AEW could close up doors, bro. The way shit's going, it could happen. I know some people, it's never gonna happen. It could happen, bro. I'm telling you, man. They lose certain talents that walk out the door of AEW. It could happen. It could. MJF leaving would hurt AEW bad. It would hurt them bad. I'm telling you that right now. So I'm just saying, bro, as fans of AEW, myself included, enjoy AEW while we can, bro, because we don't know. And we also know that there's that situation with Warner Brothers Discovery and Netflix, and that could jeopardize possibly AEW. We don't know. I know everybody, they're going to go to Discovery Global or whatever. We don't know how this is going to play out, bro. Just because they go over to Discovery Global doesn't mean shit's necessarily going to pan out for AEW. We don't know what the roster's going to look like by then. We have no idea. You know what I mean? So again, it's just one of those things where you just try to take what you can get out of the show and try to enjoy it. But bro, there's those times where it's hard to enjoy the show. It's hard to, oh yeah, the show was good when the logic gaps are out of, there's no logic. You know what I mean? There's no sense of story, no sense of direction. So how are you supposed to get invested in this goddamn show when clearly the owner of the show is not even invested in his own goddamn show? Everything is just logic gaps out the wazoo, bro, and nothing, and I mean nothing, makes sense. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW's Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.